Criminal police Muchan is on his way to arrest an illegal gang. At the same time, Ju Hyun, a female police officer from the Seoul City Cybersecurity Department, disguised herself as a hot streamer to investigate the crime. Ju Hyun danced to the music to attract the attention of the audience. Her goal was to find out about the illegal live stream group that was operating in disguise. She also continuously interacted with the audience watching the live stream. On the other side, Muchan was also watching the broadcast. Muchan commented and asked about Ju Hyun's outfit. She immediately shared where she bought it and the price. Surprisingly, the address was located under the building where Ju Hyun was live streaming. When Muchan received the news, he immediately went there and called for more support. The leader was upset because Ju Hyun refused to take off her shirt or perform provocatively. He was about to rush in and punish her. At that moment, Muchan broke down the door and rushed in. Muchan single-handedly handled all of his subordinates without breaking a sweat. Ju Hyun took the opportunity to rescue the young girls who were being held in the room. Ju Hyun then sent the IP address to her colleagues to trace the related network. After dealing with them all, Muchan entered the control room. He left behind a photo and hair of a young girl. Ju Hyun filmed the whole scene. At that moment, the leader hid in the closet and tried to run away, but he was captured. When Ju Hyun went outside to call her colleagues, she was told that they could not access the data. Muchan snatched Ju Hyun's phone and deleted the video she had just recorded as evidence. Muchan was a cold-hearted police officer. He wanted to create false evidence to force them to confess, despite Ju Hyun chasing after him to get her phone back. Muchan still left. Returning to the station, the leader denied everything and accused the police of illegal entry. He also said that he was helping young girls achieve their dreams. Muchan immediately took a photo of a girl named Kang Hai and gave it to the leader. 3 months ago, she was his money-making machine. The leader refused because there were so many girls who came and went that he could not remember them. At this time, Muchan said that Kang Hai had died 4 days ago. Her last call came from his office. At the same time, Kang Hai's DNA was also found in the leader's office. He still denied it because he thought she had never been there. The leader continued to refuse to admit his guilt, so Muchan had to think of another way. He had someone turn off the camera and then hit his head on the table to create a wound. Muchan used the wound to accuse him of assaulting the police. The leader was forced into a corner and had to bow his head and admit his guilt. At the same time, people protested against Ji Chun's release. Ji Chun was the one who had distributed videos of sexual exploitation of minors, but Ji Chun was only sentenced to 1 year and 6 months in prison, which made people extremely angry. People criticized the law and were angry when they saw him still living normally. Muchan escorted Ji Chun out into the crowd of people cursing him. The people angrily attacked him. The police saw this, but did not intervene. Before getting in the car, Ji Chun turned around with a defiant look. Muchan immediately released Ji Chun, so the crowd could rush in and beat him up. The police remained standing still, and no one stopped them. Leaving, Ji Chun was still arrogant and appeared fearless. Ji Chun told Muchan to go back and become his henchman. Muchan angrily picked up a rock and threw it straight at the car symbol Ji Chun was driving. Knowing that he had angered the wrong person, Ji Chun immediately called his subordinates to quickly leave. Suddenly, Muchan noticed the foreign woman accompanying Ji Chun. She was Ji Chun's legal wife, but he treated her as invisible. That night, Ju Hyun's younger sister, Ju Min, was watching the news about Ji Chun's obscene video. Ju Hyun immediately stopped him because she didn't want her sister to be exposed to bad content. Meanwhile, Ji Chun continued his obscene acts regardless of the law. He and his group were holding orphans to film illegal pornographic videos. Because these children had no relatives, they would rarely be investigated or discovered. Ji Chun also intended to deal with his foreign wife because she was no longer of any use, and he wanted to avoid future dangers. At the same time, Muchan secretly met Ji Chun's foreign wife to discuss the plan. He asked her to take the hard drive containing the video and testify in court. Muchan promised to help her settle down legally and live safely in Korea. Muchan knew that Ji Chun often abused her brutally. Only in this way could she escape his control. If she continued to remain silent, she would become an accomplice in all crimes. Seeing Ji Chun return, Muchan intended to leave, but as soon as Muchan left, Ji Chun continued to assault his wife. Muchan could not ignore it, so he broke the camera and attacked Ji Chun repeatedly. Ji Chun could only scream in pain. A few days later, the entire city received a strange announcement. A vote to execute Ji Chun was launched publicly on the phone. Anyone who is 18 years old can vote for 1 hour. If more than 50% agree, he will be executed. People consider this a social survey. No one thinks the consequences are serious. Ji Chun also received the news, but he showed disdain. Ji Chun thought that someone was trying to ruin his big business. Ji Chun even called for everyone to vote in his favor. Ji Chun was absolutely confident in the the results. Unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, Ji-chun was captured by a masked man. The man showed Ji-chun the voting results, with 84% in favor. Ji-chun began to panic and beg for his life, but it was too late to save him. The next morning, the police arrived at the scene and found Ji-chun dead. Ji-chun's body was lying in a pile of money, his mouth full of dirty money. Muchan realized that the vote was not as simple as a joke. Muchan had people check the camera and call history, but all in vain. There were no fingerprints, footprints, or traces left behind. Soon after, an anonymous video was sent to the entire population. The masked man admitted that he was the one who punished Ji-chun. To prove it, the masked man released images of Ji-chun being brutally tortured before his death. The masked man explained clearly why Ji-chun deserved the death penalty. Ji-chun had earned 400 million won from more than 200,000 obscene videos. The total amount was 2 billion won, but Ji-chun only served 18 months in prison. Ji-chun showed no remorse. Last night, Ji-chun said that there were many more videos that had not been discovered. The masked man believed that the current law had too many loopholes. Those who deserved to die were living peacefully among them every day. That's why he wanted to stand up for justice, to purge the criminals. Every 15th and 30th night of the month, the masked man holds a death penalty vote. The people in society will be the ones to punish the criminals. The masked man calls on everyone to join him in creating a more just world. The police chief then sets up an investigation team to capture the masked man, but no one in the team volunteers to take on this dangerous responsibility. Everyone is afraid of the death penalty vote. The police chief assigns the task to Muchan. Muchan agrees, but he asks to join the headquarters investigation team if he catches the masked man. That day, Ju-hyun goes to see Muchan to discuss the masked man case. She says she knows the true identity of the person behind the mask. Ju-hyun gives Muchan a video that the cybersecurity team has collected before. Both videos have in common the phrase "innocent devil." 8 years ago, there was a case where a father killed the person who attacked his daughter. The perpetrator was released. The father was later arrested after committing a revenge crime. Ju-hyun suspected that the father, Soju, was the one behind the mask. Muchan was the investigator in that case 8 years ago. In the final trial, Soju also mentioned the evil sinful. However, Muchan thought this was absurd because Soju was still in prison. Soju had never been visited or sent letters outside during his imprisonment. The next morning, Muchan went to the prison to see Soju, but Soju refused to meet Muchan despite his repeated requests. The prison warden confirmed that Soju lived a private life and did not meet or contact anyone. On the other side, Ju-hyun was transferred to the special investigation team with Muchan. She was very excited because for many years, she had only been an assistant in the cybersecurity team. Ju-hyun's close brother Jordan came out to greet her. He noticed that she looked brighter and more determined than usual today. At the same time, Muchan went looking for the driver who drove Ji-chun on the night he was kidnapped. The driver said that Ji-chun was so drunk that day that Ji-chun called him to drive for him. The driver took Ji-chun to the car, and then he received a text message from a stranger. That person said that the remuneration money was put in the passenger seat pocket and then left immediately. The driver didn't know who the text message was from, so he gave Muchan his phone number. Muchan immediately sent someone to find the taxi used that day. Not long after, the car was discovered at a junkyard near the suburbs. Muchan immediately went there and saw that the car had been crushed. The dash cam was almost impossible to restore. Although Soju was in prison, he was still treated specially as an educated person. Even the prison warden respected Soju because of his profound knowledge of the law. Soju once helped the prison warden draft a divorce petition and reduce child support. When Soju learned that Ju-hyun was interviewing other prisoners outside, at this time, she was asking them about the phrase evil sin that appeared in the death penalty voting video. Soju felt curious and proactively asked to meet Ju-hyun to talk. Here, she repeated the phrase that he had said in court years ago. Ju-hyun suspected that the culprit was related to Soju or had been in contact with him before, but Soju denied everything and said that he did not know anything about the masked man. Soju advised Ju-hyun that if she could not find the culprit, she should go to the victims. Since that person always foretold the next crime, he would definitely choose the next target. Soju seemed to know the next victim, but he remained silent and refused to answer. Ju-hyun then called Muchan, who was waiting outside the prison. Muchan believes that the culprit is someone who had contact with Soju during his time in prison. On the other side, an evil woman secretly planned to kill her family. She put poison in her husband's food and took the two husbands' illegitimate child to school. At the intersection waiting for the red light, the woman pushed the children onto the street to cause an accident, but failed. Then she pretended to be worried about her children. Then the woman dragged them into the alley to curse. When she was about to hit her, a masked man suddenly appeared and kidnapped her. That person was none other than the masked man. According to the rules, the next death penalty vote would take place that evening. Many people were waiting for the vote results, like waiting for the daily lottery. The victim this time was Eun-kyung, 35 years old. She had killed people for insurance money. Eun-kyung killed 3 husbands and then received billions of won. Eun-kyung was initially sentenced to life in prison, but she was acquitted because there was not enough evidence to prove her motive. Worse, she also intentionally injured her 4th husband's stepchild for personal gain. Eun-kyung is now plotting to kill her new husband to continue receiving insurance. Does such a person deserve to live? The vote will take place in an hour, and the people will decide. The police quickly identified Eun-kyung, but she had disappeared from her home. Her cell phone signal showed that she was around a nearby parking lot. After a search, they discovered that she was in a car with an explosive device. The police could not approach because of the risk of explosion if handled incorrectly. Muchan sent a picture of the bomb to Ju-hun to ask her to destroy the device. Because of the urgent time, he decided to move the car out of the residential area immediately. Ju-hyun remembered that there was a high school nearby with a spacious schoolyard and separate from the residential area. Muchan wanted Ju-hyun to go there to help because the place was safe enough to handle the emergency. Muchan sat in the car with Eun-kyung. Muchan asked Eun-kyung to drive to the schoolyard as soon as possible. The bomb was not connected to the accelerator, so the car could still move normally. At the high school, there were still many students, and they were discussing the upcoming execution. Immediately after that, the school made an emergency announcement asking students to leave the campus. The police arrived to help evacuate all students quickly. At the same time, Muchan and Eun-kyung arrived at the center of the high school yard. Muchan asked everyone to keep their distance, and no one was allowed to get close to the dangerous car. Muchan refused to get out of the car and stayed there waiting for the next developments. Everyone was surprised because they did not understand why Muchan wanted to risk his life like that. Muchan called the masked man and promised that he would bring Eun-kyung to public trial. Muchan asserted that if Eun-kyung was guilty, the court would judge him according to the law. The masked man disagreed because he no longer believed in the current justice. Muchan said that if he died here, public opinion would turn against the masked man. It was unclear what Muchan wanted to do. Ju-hun ran over, but was too late. The car exploded in shock. She collapsed when she saw those images. On this side, Ju-min was afraid that Ju-hun would have an accident, so she tried to squeeze into the scene to investigate. The police stopped Ju-min, so she found a higher place to observe the situation below. Here, Ju-min saw the teacher making a deal with some male students. The teacher wanted to buy the photos of the explosion that the students had taken. Ju-min took the opportunity to take pictures of this unusual transaction as evidence. The next morning, Ju-hun returned and found Ju-min asleep on the sofa. At this time, the TV station was reporting that Eun-kyung had died on the spot and Muchan was in critical condition. At that moment, Ju-min woke up and blamed Ju-hun for not answering her phone call last night. Ju-min was worried about Ju-hun and kept asking about her health. Ju-hun advised Ju-min to change her mind about the man with the nickname Gaetal. Ju-hun affirmed that he was not a hero, but a dangerous criminal. Gaetal was capable of killing the police at any time, without reason. At the hospital, it turned out that Muchan was not as seriously injured as everyone thought. After the explosion, he first quickly got out of the car to try to save Eun-kyung, but Muchan could not save her. Luckily, Ju-hyun arrived in time to stop him. She pulled him out of the car before a bigger explosion happened right after. Outside, Ju-hyun disguised himself as a doctor and sneaked into the hospital room. Ju-hyun opened the door and walked in under the surprised eyes of Muchan, who was sitting there. Ju-hyun locked the door and confronted Muchan about deceiving the people. She asked him if he knew what the consequences would be if this became public. He said that it was just a way for him to manipulate public opinion to change people's minds. Muchan wanted to make himself a victim so that people would hate Gaetal faster. Muchan said that this was the first step to prevent the death penalty vote that Gaetal created. Ju-hyun objected because the police could not act like criminals. If this was exposed, the entire police force would lose all credibility with society. That night, Ju-min sneaked into the room and copied the video of Gaetal from Ju-hun's phone. Ju-min and her friend then began investigating the person wearing the Gaetal mask. Ju-min discovered that the video had a sound similar to a fire truck siren. Just then, Ju-hun walked out, causing the two to panic. Ju-hyun blamed Ju-min for prying into dangerous matters when she was just a high school student. But after a while, the three of them reviewed the video to find more clues. They saw the siren and the red lights reflecting like a fire truck passing by. Ju-min's friend guessed that the house might be near an area where a fire had occurred. Hearing that, Ju-hyun immediately looked up fires in the past 6 months and found 3 suspicious locations. Ju-hyun Ju-hyun remembered that Soju's house was near one of those areas, so she immediately went to see. The three of them went to his old house. Ju-hyun called Muchan for help, but he didn't answer. Ju-hyun texted that she would go there alone. The other two waited for her outside. She entered the dark house. Muchan only saw the text message at this time, so he changed his clothes and rushed there. Ju-hyun discovered the words "the 10th time, wrong" written on the old wall. Next to it was a file about the tragic death of Na-rae, Sok-ju's daughter. Suddenly, a masked man rushed in and attacked her, knocking her unconscious. Outside, Ju-min and her friend waited for more than 20 minutes, but Ju-hyun still hadn't returned. Ju-min was surprised that Muchan wasn't as badly injured as the TV station had reported. Muchan called Ju-hyun, but she answered, so he climbed over the gate into the house. Muchan saw Ju-hyun lying motionless on the floor, so he quickly checked her condition. Luckily, Ju-hyun was fine. She was just stunned from being hit hard on the head. At that moment, Muchan saw the attacker trying to run away, so he chased after. Muchan attacked, but because his wound hadn't healed yet, he couldn't control this guy. Seeing this, the suspect quickly ran out the door. Ju-min tried to hold him back, but couldn't. The next morning, Muchan and Ju-hyun went to the detention center together to meet Sok-ju. Ju-hyun told Sok-ju that Gaetal had used his house as a hideout. Gaetal carefully collected a lot of data about Sok-ju's past and family, but Sok-ju only paid attention to the rabbit in the old photo. It was Sok-ju's daughter's favorite toy, but now it had faded. Muchan asked Sok-ju if he knew who Gaetal was and the reason for the death penalty votes. Sok-ju did not answer and just remained silent. Seeing that, Ju-hyun asked about the writing on the wall. Sok-ju said that Na-rae was stabbed 22 times. Sok-ju also took revenge on the murderer with a knife, but the 13th stab missed. That stab wound was completely different from the stab wound the murderer gave Sok-ju's daughter. Sok-ju said that there must be someone with a special interest who knew this detail. Ju-hyun asked Sok-ju if he remembered anyone who liked, respected, or was close to him. After thinking for a while, Sok-ju replied that it was Muchan. Ju-hyun was surprised because she did not expect the two to be so close. Muchan once said that he respected Sok-ju very much. Muchan also knew the phrase innocent evil. Sok-ju advised Ju-hyun not to trust Muchan too much in this case. Muchan interrupted Sok-ju, and he thought that Sok-ju was saying baseless things. Sok-ju didn't want to say anything more, so he left despite Ju-hyun's pleading. At Ji-chun's funeral home, his foreign wife was about to send a video to Muchan. Suddenly, a masked man appeared and strangled her until she stopped breathing. At the same time, Ju-hyun kept asking Muchan about his relationship with Sok-ju in the past, but Muchan always ignored and tried to avoid this question. At that moment, Gaetal released a new video. Gaetal mentioned the innocent police officer who was injured in the explosion and then released the video as evidence to prove that he was fine. This surprised Muchan and Ju-hyun. Reporters came to question Muchan, creating a lot of pressure right in front of the police station. Public opinion immediately turned their backs and criticized the police for their lies. Muchan's image appeared in the media as a person who deceived the whole country. Muchan immediately explained that he pretended because he wanted to catch the murderer quickly. Muchan apologized for that. Muchan affirmed that if he could choose again, he would still be willing to do it again. At the same time, Muchan thought that Gaetal was trying to drag the people into becoming his indirect accomplices. Gaetal used the death penalty ballot to give himself the right to kill. Because they were too pressured, Ju-hyun had to take Muchan to her house to temporarily avoid him. At that time, Ju-min had just finished bathing, causing the two to shy away. Then Muchan scolded Ju-min for being curious and interfering in this complicated case. He also mentioned Ju-min's friend who had let the murderer slip away in the chaos. Ju-hyun immediately defended Ju-min and affirmed that thanks to the two of them, they were able to find clues. Muchan asked if anyone remembered anything about the masked man that night. He immediately thought that the man was the one who caused the car explosion the day before. Muchan suspected that it was Gaetal. However, Ju-min still believed that Gaetal punished the right person who deserved to die. She said that her family was also a victim of injustice. Seeing the photo of their parents, Muchan seemed to understand something. Muchan told Ju-hyun about his close relationship with Sok-ju in the past. 8 years ago, Muchan had investigated the case of Sok-ju's daughter who was brutally murdered. Na-rae had more than 20 stab wounds on her body, which horrified everyone who witnessed it. Sok-ju cried out in despair when she saw her body. The murderer was Woo-taek. He was later arrested. He had many previous convictions for sexual violence, longer believed in the law. That night, Sok-ju killed the murderer himself. Muchan, was present at the scene, but he was unable to stop Soju. Muchan thought that maybe that was why Soju had been holding a grudge against him until now, but Jiang thought that was not true. She said that the police were only investigators and could not pass judgment on behalf of the court. At that moment, the two received news about the new murder case, which was Jichun's wife. Muchan immediately went to the forensic room to examine the body and the cause of death. The doctor said that the victim was strangled to death with deep bruises on the shoulder. The perpetrator stepped on the shoulder to create a strong squeezing force. It was probably a man about 1.80 meters tall. Muchan thought that the perpetrator was not gay tall because the gay towel he saw at Sokju's house was different from the forensic description. The next day, prison guard met Muchan to provide information. This person had sent Muchan a letter that someone had sent to Soju. Every month, Soju received letters from someone who signed as his #1 fan. The prison guard put a stack of letters on the table and demanded 100 million won in exchange. Muchan just smiled and immediately handcuffed him for appropriating personal letters. Those letters were then confiscated as evidence in the investigation. When he returned, Muchan assigned Jiang the task of checking all the sender addresses. She discovered letters sent from different provinces across the country. The content of the letters was similar to what Gay Tal had revealed in the videos. Jiang suspected that Gay Tal was the #1 fan, but the middle pages of the letter were missing. Jiang and Muchan suspected that Soju had intentionally hidden the middle part of the letter. The next morning, the two returned to the detention center. Jiang directly questioned Soju. Muchan stood outside the camera monitoring room. Jiang showed the letter, and Soju immediately accused her of violating her privacy. But Jiang just laughed and said that she picked it up in the trash. In the letter, Gaytal described in detail how the victims were killed after voting. However, the middle part of the letter was missing, which could have contained information about the next victim. Soju confirmed this and said that he had memorized the content and flushed those pages down the toilet. He said that he did this to force police to come to him and negotiate. In the end, Soju agreed to cooperate to find the person behind the death penalty ballot, with only one condition: they helped Soju leave this prison. Not long after, Soju was released, but he was still under strict surveillance. The police arranged for Soju to be placed in a private room with cameras installed in every hidden corner. In another development, Jordan discovered important details on Jichun's wife's phone. Jichun's wife had used Google Translate to compose a Korean text message to Muchan. The content said that on the day her husband died, someone sent a threatening package. Muchan immediately checked the camera in front of Jichun's house that night. A masked person looked exactly like person who attacked them at Sokju's house. Muchan sent people to track down delivery workers in the area related to the death penalty ballot. Only a few days left until the next vote was officially released. The investigation team had to call and remind everyone who was at risk of becoming a target. Those who have a criminal record or are condemned by the community are warned. That day, Jiang and Soju sat down to filter the list of suspects. Jiang gave Soju a list of past relationships, including friends, colleagues, and neighbors. Jiang showed Soju about Jichun's case. This was an exception because it was not caused by Gaytal. The two sat down to filter out the suspects. Jiang asked Soju about the family of the murderer, Woo Taek, who killed his daughter 8 years ago. Soju said that Woo Taek's parents were a driver and a housekeeper for a neighbor's house. They used to help Soju and Na Rae. Sometimes they even sent them some food. They also helped him take his daughter to school when she was late. The two families were quite close at one time. Soju was really shocked that their son killed Na Rae. Their owner was a newly appointed female congresswoman named Jiang. Her youngest son's name is Minsu. He is physically weak, so Woo Taek often helps him carry his bag. Soju remembers Minsu's strange eyes every time he looks at his daughter. At this time, Gaytal released the third death sentence, causing a stir in public opinion. This time, Gaytal did not reveal the victim's identity, only revealing the nickname Captain Ohi. This person had been sexually assaulted many times in the army. He caused Lieutenant Lim to die. This incident devastated her family. The police immediately checked the individuals with the surname Ohi in the army at that time. There were 5 suspicious people, 2 of whom were missing. At that time, a man called the police station and claimed to be the next target. His name was Ohi Jung. He said he had received a package with a photo of Lieutenant Lim. Muchan quickly went there after receiving the urgent news. Muchan ordered Jiang to release Soju as bait and went to the church. On the other side, Muchan was rushing to the church where Ohi Jung was calling for help in a panic. At that moment, he received another phone call from the hospital. This doctor was Ohi Jung. He introduced himself as Captain Ohi. Ohi Jung had served in the army. Ohi Jung had told them all the sins he had committed against Lieutenant Lim. While talking, Oh Hee-jong suddenly became silent. Oh Hee-jong sensed something was wrong. Muchan had turned around and was looking for the hospital that Oh Hee-jong had mentioned. On this side, Joo-hyun and Seok-ju had arrived at the hospital first. The remaining team had also entered the church, but it was just a trap that Gatel had set up to lure them there. There was no one except the phone. On the hospital side, a student named Ji-hoon suddenly appeared, startling Oh Hee-jong. Then Oh Hee-jong took out his phone and called Muchan back. Oh Hee-jong asked the police to come here. Hearing that, Muchan told Oh Hee-jong to lock the door. Outside, and Seok-ju entered the hospital. Joo-hyun put a mask on Seok-ju so that no one could recognize him. Joo-hyun went to ask about Dr. Oh Hee-jong's whereabouts, but no one knew where he was. Then she went to Oh Hee-jong's room and knocked on the door. Ji-hoon heard that and was about to open the door, but Oh Hee-jong hit the boy. Inside the room, Oh Hee-jong still didn't trust him, so he wanted to see Joo-hyun's ID card. Joo-hyun took out the police name tag and gave it to Oh Hee-jong, but he was still not satisfied. Oh Hee-jong wanted Joo-hyun to check the ID cards of everyone present. Joo-hyun had no choice but to do as Oh Hee-jong asked. At that moment, the time for the death penalty vote had ended, and the number of votes in favor had reached 72%. Gatel immediately announced Oh Hee-jong's identity to everyone. Previously, Oh Hee-jong had his sentence reduced because his family ran a large hospital. Oh Hee-jong changed his name and has been a doctor shamelessly until now. Everyone in the hospital was surprised to learn that person was Dr. Oh Hee-jong. Gatel would punish Oh Hee-jong for everyone and would carry out the death sentence right away. While Joo-hyun was checking everyone's IDs, Seok-ju discovered someone she knew. He then revealed this to her. On the other side, the man immediately ran away when he was discovered. Joo-hyun immediately chased after him. The prison guard saw a strange box under the chair where the man was sitting. He felt curious, so he tried to open it to see. Seok-ju immediately stopped him and asked him to move away. Then the box exploded, causing everyone in the hospital to run away. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he also quickly escaped. Seok-ju passed by a bomb disposal officer, but that person looked very familiar. Immediately after that, the bomb disposal officer came to knock on Oh Hee-jong's door. He asked Oh Hee-jong to evacuate because there was not much time left. While Oh Hee-jong was about to open the door, Muchan called and asked him not to go out. Even if the bomb exploded or the police came, he should stay there. After waiting too long without seeing Oh Hee-jong open the door, the guy pumped gas into the room. Both of them in the room felt uncomfortable and suffocated. On the other side, Joo-hyun chased after the delivery man, but he fought back. While the delivery man was about to kill Joo-hyun, Seok-ju appeared just in time. Even though hands were cuffed, Seok-ju still had enough strength to defeat him. Seok-ju strangled the delivery man until he was completely exhausted. Joo-hyun was afraid that Seok-ju would kill the delivery man, so she stopped Seok-ju and handcuffed him. Inside the hospital, Oh Hee-jong and Ji-hoon couldn't take it anymore, so they opened the door. Oh Hee-jong used Ji-hoon as a hostage, making the murderer unable to attack. He then put down his gun due to Oh Hee-jong's threat. While Oh Hee-jong was about to take the gun, Ji-hoon escaped from control. Immediately the murderer rushed to control Oh Hee-jong. When he was about to attack Oh Hee-jong, Muchan arrived in time. With the gun in his hand, Muchan could not fire when the surrounding was filled with gas. Muchan had to convince the murderer to surrender, but it was definitely impossible. Joo-hyun and Seok-ju were also present at this time. The murderer immediately asked Muchan if he really wanted to save Oh Hee-jong. After the crimes he had committed, Muchan said that he also wanted to kill Oh Hee-jong, but they had to let Oh Hee-jong live a life worse than death under the punishment of the law. On the other side, Seok-ju immediately threw the fire suppression system. Muchan immediately shot at the murderer. He immediately killed Oh Hee-jong. The murderer was only slightly injured. When they got outside, Muchan blamed Seok-ju for his actions, but Seok-ju thought that Muchan also wanted to kill Oh Hee-jong. Muchan was about to hit Seok-ju, but Joo-hyun stopped him in time. Joo-hyun wanted to take Seok-ju away before the reporters arrived. The next morning, Muchan went to the police station to take the murderer's statement. He didn't have any ID and deliberately destroyed all his fingerprints. Muchan asked the murderer if he knew anything about Lieutenant Lim or if he was Seok-ju's #1 fan. He didn't answer anything, only admitting that he was Gatel. But Muchan knew it was a lie because the murderer definitely had an accomplice. He couldn't be the real Gatel. The real Gatel was still hiding out there. The DNA sample results showed that his name was Jin-wook, Lieutenant Lim's fiancé. Jin-wook had faked his death many years ago and changed his identity to hide his identity. The scar on his neck could have been to erase his former military identification number. On this side, Joo-hyun took Seok-ju to visit his house again. She also removed the handcuffs on his hands so he could be comfortable when he returned. Seok-ju went into the house to visit his daughter's old belongings. Images of his little daughter always appeared in his mind. Na-rae's death was never easy for Seok-ju to accept. On On this side, Muchan went to his superiors and expressed his anger at the decision to disband the team. His superiors thought that Gaetal had been captured, so the mission was now over. But Muchan insisted that Jinwook was not the real Gaetal. Gaetal was still out there, so the case could not be over. On the other side, Mr. Choi reviewed the camera footage recorded at the hospital last night and discovered a strange detail when a young man did not get out of the car. Miss Choi met Muchan to discuss the matter of Congressman Jiang's son. The boy had mysteriously appeared at the hospital, making Mr. Choi suspicious. Muchan immediately remembered and met Soju to talk about his #1 fan. Muchan believes that the real Gaetal is still alive and will contact Soju again. Muchan plans to pretend to close the case and set a trap to catch Gaetal next time. Soju blames Muchan for setting the trap 8 years ago. The DNA on Soju's daughter's stuffed animal is Wootaek's and an unidentified person. Soju thinks Muchan knows who the other person is, but he's not confident enough. 8 years ago, Muchan suspected Jiang's son was an accomplice. Minsu smiled when Na-Rei's body was brought out, but Muchan still hides it because there's not enough evidence to convict him. Muchan is also afraid that Soju will take action if he finds out that Minsu is an accomplice. However, Soju still agrees to be the bait to help Muchan catch the real Gaetal, but Soju warns that if Muchan fails, he will never forgive Muchan. Outside, Juhan has been eavesdropping on the entire conversation through a hidden camera. She didn't hear the last words Muchan whispered into Soju's ear. Juhyun was furious about this. The next day, Juhyun transferred Soju back to prison. Juhyun asked why Soju always suspected Muchan was Gaetal. Soju said that after the end of a semester, he always advised students not to completely believe what the teacher said. The right answer could only come if they found out. Soju's words made Juhyun even more confused. That day, Muchan brought Lieutenant Lim's father to meet Jinwook. Lieutenant Lim's father blamed Jinwook for his previous foolish actions. He said Lieutenant Lim didn't want to see such sad things. Jinwook apologized to him, and both of them shed tears of emotion. Jinwook then confessed that he had an accomplice, but they only communicated online. He was in charge of the technical part, while Jinwook was in charge of the execution. Muchan wondered why Jinwook didn't kill Oh Hee-jong himself, but had to participate in the death penalty vote. Jinwook says they don't want to kill people randomly, but rather rely on the results of the vote. Jinwook committed 3 murders with his accomplice. He was called fan #1, and he said that person that fan #1 respected was currently in custody. Muchan asks Jinwook what the relationship between fan #1 and Soju was. Jinwook thinks that Gaetal was most likely Soju's student. He said that he would destroy the person Soju loved the most in his life. Over here, the police are investigating Hun, the son of Congresswoman Jiang. Muchan suspects Hyun of being an accomplice in the case 8 years ago. Hyun has now changed his name to Minsu and is a middle school teacher. In addition to the fact that Minsu's family used to be Soju's neighbors many years ago, Minsu's mother was also present at Soju's final trial. She must have known the phrase innocent evil very early on. On this side, Minsu nestled in his mother's arms like a child. Both of them were watching the news about the arrest of the suspect in the death penalty vote. Jiang thought that this case was very similar to the case of Soju's daughter in the past. She turned to ask her son why he continued to kill people like that. Before Na-Rei was killed, Minsu was a big fan of Soju. Jiang once took Minsu to see Soju to ask for an autograph. The sickly Minsu was passionate about law and justice when he was young. While they were talking, Minsu's daughter appeared. Minsu focused on her. His eyes looked at her strangely. Minsu often peeked at Soju's house every day. One day, Na-Rei lost her beloved dog. Soju went to Minsu's house and asked if he had seen his dog because someone had seen Minsu leave her house. Minsu denied it and told Soju to check the security camera. Soju was a bit surprised because his house's camera had just broken. At the same time, Minsu's parents had just returned home and were upset about that situation. They thought that Soju was disturbing their son's studies. Minsu also lied that he had not seen the dog. Soju immediately returned home without saying anything more. Then Minsu's father called him in to ask him about the strange incident. His father had someone dig up the land in the backyard and found the dog's body underneath. When the father found out, he immediately beat Minsu. He understood that this was not the first time Minsu had done this. The father was afraid that if Soju found out about this, their family's honor would be lost. Jiang suddenly beat Wootaek and blamed him for everything. Wootaek knelt down and apologized because since he was young, he had always been forced to take the blame for Minsu. No matter what happened, Wootaek had to take responsibility for it. Minsu's father turned around and beat Wootaek. Wootaek's parents saw this and didn't dare to do anything. A moment later, Minsu returned and pretended to apologize to Wootaek for what had happened, but in fact, Minsu had already begun planning to harm Soju's daughter. The next morning, Na-rae went to look for the dog when someone called her name from behind. Not long after, she was killed, and the police removed her body from the scene. Muchan noticed Minsu because he always had a mysterious smile. Minsu began to suspect, but the police at that time were really corrupt. Soju was suddenly arrested for making a statement about Na-rae's death. The police did not believe it was a kidnapping because he did not receive blackmail. They also suspected that Soju had killed his daughter because someone saw Na-rae coming home with him on the day of the crime. Mr. Choi questioned Soju about his presence at the place where his daughter's body was found. They thought that Soju had a strict personality. They thought Soju knew the camera's blind spot, so he killed his daughter there. The questions were so absurd that they seemed to force Soju to admit his wrongful conviction. Soju remained silent and did not answer any of their questions. At that moment, Muchan stepped in and asked Soju to hire a lawyer to protect his rights. But Soju said that he was strong enough to protect himself without a lawyer. Muchan took out the videos that were circulating on social media. Many people accused Soju of being unusually close to female students. Netizens boycotted and accused Soju of killing his own daughter. He could only shake his head and shed tears without saying anything more. Muchan truly felt Soju's pain. Soju's family was stoned, mentally terrorized, and severely insulted. Muchan came to find more clues. Even if it was just a small hope, Muchan still firmly believed that Soju was not the real culprit of the case. But Soju didn't want the investigation to drag on. For Soju, losing Na-rae was more painful than being accused of being a father who killed his daughter. Muchan knew that Soju wasn't the murderer, so he always trusted and respected Soju. Muchan said that he was Soju's #1 fan when he first joined the police force. Muchan wanted the two of them to find Na-rae's killer together that year. Soju reviewed the items at the crime scene that year and discovered that a familiar stuffed animal had been strangely missing. Na-rae often carried it with her whenever she went with the orphan boy that Soju planned to adopt. On the day of the murder, the two children had agreed to meet in the afternoon. The boy was always tormented because he was late that day. Muchan immediately went to the road where people last saw Na-rae alive. Muchan asked to see the dashcam from the group of people who often rode bikes. The video showed that Na-rae had been with a boy named Woo-taek. Woo-taek said he knew where the dog was, so he asked her to go with him to find it. Soju suspected that Minsu was the one who took the dog. Whoever took the stuffed animal from Na-rae was the real culprit. Soju gave the other stuffed animal to Muchan as evidence. Not long after, Woo-taek was summoned to the police station to give a statement. Woo-taek was scared and kept begging to go home immediately. The police were still secretly monitoring Woo-taek's every move. Woo-taek's family is currently working as a maid for Minsu's family. Minsu's parents hired a lawyer to help Woo-taek settle the murder case. Muchan suspected that there was a reason why his family came forward to help. Muchan immediately went to Minsu's house and told him that Woo-taek was now the biggest suspect. Muchan asked Jiang why she hired a lawyer for Woo-taek. She replied that it was only because she sympathized with Woo-taek's family's situation. Just then, Minsu appeared. So Woo-taek asked about his relationship with Woo-taek, but Minsu said he was not familiar or close to Woo-taek. Minsu also advised Muchan not to believe what Woo-taek said. Muchan immediately realized that Minsu was lying and hiding something. Jiang did not want her son to be bothered, so she sent Muchan away. Then she sent someone to follow him. Jiang told that person to keep the video incriminating Soju until the verdict. The next day, Minsu went to the police station to tell Muchan about Woo-taek. Minsu said that on the night of the murder, Woo-taek took Na-rae's bag somewhere. It seemed that Minsu was trying to push all suspicions onto Woo-taek, but Muchan did not believe it because he thought Minsu was also involved. Muchan asked about the wound on Minsu's hand, and he said that he was injured because he was helping his uncle with the gardening. Minsu's words were not convincing. That wound was caused by Minsu. It was Minsu who brought the briefcase back, not Woo-taek. Muchan angrily went to Woo-taek to question him for the truth. Woo-taek panicked and revealed the name that Muchan wanted to hear, which was Minsu. Before the trial, Woo-taek's prosecutor claimed that Woo-taek had an accomplice because the sample contained the DNA of an unidentified third person. They suggested collecting Minsu's DNA for comparison. The judge agreed, but he requested that this be done in secret. Woo-taek's trial officially began shortly thereafter. Muchan testified about the third person's blood sample on the teddy bear. The lawyer questioned why the evidence was discovered so late. Muchan replied that the place where the murder took place and the place where the body was found were two different places. The lawyer brought out another identical teddy bear and questioned back. He claimed that this bear belonged to Na-rae. There were no strange marks on it except for the girl girl's and her family's fingerprints. The lawyer then asked the judge to check which teddy bear was Na Rei's. Although the appearance was the same, the teddy bear's eye color was completely different. The judge immediately announced the destruction of the evidence because it did not match the original image. Muchan stood up and revealed that Wu-taek had confessed that he did not commit the crime alone. On the other side, Wu-taek denied that and accused Muchan of beating him, causing him to be bruised. The bruises on Wu-taek's body surprised everyone in the court. At the end of the trial, the judge declared Wu-taek innocent due to insufficient evidence. Muchan and Soju were stunned when they heard the final decision from the court. Outside, Muchan was suddenly slapped in the face by Jiang. She warned him not to touch her son again. Muchan could only accept it and did not know what else to do. When he saw Wu-taek being released, Muchan could not keep calm. Soju intervened because he understood that the current corrupt law was no longer fair. Muchan was still determined to find justice for Na Rei. That day, Soju accidentally met Wu-taek while taking out the trash. Soju bowed his head and apologized for the pain the police had caused him. Wu-taek thought Soju was a good person, so he gave Soju a gift to show his trust. Wu-taek took out a recording of Na Rei's voice before she was killed and sent it to Soju. In the recording, Na Rei repeatedly said that she missed her father very much. Hearing that, Soju was so angry that she could not contain herself. Soju returned home and covered her daughter's entire room with a white towel. Soju then planned to avenge Na Rei's unjust death. That night, while Wu-taek was buying fried banana cakes on the side of the road, Soju suddenly appeared and dragged him to a deserted alley. There, Soju killed Wu-taek with dozens of consecutive stabs. Not long after, Soju was accused by the police of killing Na Rei and Wu-taek. Minsu was also present and smiled sinisterly as usual. Muchan witnessed everything. At that moment, the police announced that Wu-taek's parents had suddenly passed away. This made Muchan's suspicions even more certain, but Muchan still couldn't do anything without clear evidence. Back in the present, Minsu was summoned to the police station to make a statement. Muchan recalled what happened 8 years ago between the two of them. Minsu also couldn't forget the police officer who was always following him at that time. After a while, Muchan asked Minsu about Na Rei's death. Muchan asked if it was Minsu who killed Na Rei 8 years ago. Minsu didn't answer, but only smiled exactly like that year. On the other side, Ji-hoon was helping Joo-hyun hack into Minsu's computer. Ji-hoon recovers some deleted data from the old drive. A video appears of the explosion that happened in the school. The video shows Joo-hyun risking his life to save Muchan from a burning car. After watching it, Joo-hyun realizes Minsu's true identity. Joo-hyun immediately informs Muchan and Soju of the truth. At this point, Muchan is certain that Minsu is Soju's #1 fan and Gaetal, the one who voted for the death penalty. Soju still can't understand why Minsu did that. A man who was suspected of killing Soju's daughter stands up to demand justice. Muchan asks about the orphan boy that Soju once tried to adopt. Soju recounts the story of meeting the boy in the rain while he was with Na Rei. Na Rei held an umbrella for the orphan boy, and the three of them returned home as a family. A few days later, the boy lived like a family member. The night of the murder, the orphan boy also witnessed Soju's act. Since then, he never saw the boy again. But Soju did not know that the boy he wanted to adopt was Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon was a student who was very good at technology. This time, Gaetal's next target was prisoners awaiting death sentences. He believed that keeping people sentenced to death was a waste of taxpayers' money. The police were frantically searching to see who would be the next person to be voted dead. Minsu did not act alone. He certainly had many accomplices behind him. The next day, when Minsu left home, someone was secretly following him. He only went to the coffee shop and then stopped by the school, but nothing strange happened. Muchan received another video from Ji-chun's funeral home the day before. The masked man had killed Ji-chun's wife with a rubber band, most likely a jump rope. Joo-hyun advised Joo-min to drop out of school because Minsu was very suspicious and dangerous. Joo-hyun said she would hire a tutor to teach her at home for a few days to be safer. But Joo-min did not listen to Joo-hyun because she was afraid of losing her attendance points. At the same time, many people wearing dog masks went to the prison to protest. They demanded that the government restore the death penalty system. Gaetal's words online had completely manipulated people. Now their justice only believed in Gaetal. Everyone wanted all prisoners to die. It was a law that Korea had abandoned. Their imprisonment had cost the state budget and also came from the people's taxes. Dog masks were now everywhere as a symbol of new justice. Minsu was very excited when he witnessed this scene. As soon as Minsu returned home, Muchan was also there, on the opposite side to monitor his actions. Muchan wanted to focus on the death row inmates directly related to Minsu. Muchan immediately shared this information with the central prison management. On the other side, a person wearing a dog mask went to an apartment building and went down to the basement. In the secret room, 2 other people wearing masks were waiting. All 3 were close subordinates, who were directly summoned by Gaital. Gaital officially appeared to announce the next execution. The victim who was about to be sentenced to death was a death row inmate named Chan Hun, who was already old. Gaital would team up with a female doctor in the prison. She would give Chan Hun medicine to cause an acute heart attack. Killing him was also to avenge the second masked person. Gaital thought that this would save tax money instead of raising useless people. After Gaital had just disconnected the connection, the third masked person began to have doubts. He asked if anyone knew Gaital's true identity. The other person objected, saying that knowing each other would be dangerous. Number 3 angrily leaves because he doesn't seem to support the death penalty. The next morning, Muchan and his teammates go to Jiang's house to arrest Minsu. Minsu is a suspect in the previous murder of Ji Chun's wife. Mr. Choi shows the camera footage of Minsu appearing at the funeral home. Jiang strongly opposes the arrest of her son, but still can't stop. She immediately calls her lawyer and asks them to send Minsu home that same day. At the police station, the person who interrogates Minsu is Soju. Muchan intentionally arranged it to observe Minsu's reaction when they meet. Like every time, Minsu smiles hauntingly in front of Soju. After a few questions, Soju gets straight to the point and asks about Minsu's identity. Soju suspects that Minsu is Gaital and is the #1 fan. Minsu cries and laughs hysterically and responds with threatening words. Minsu asks if he is really Gaital. Will Soju be able to live in peace? Soju angrily grabs Minsu's collar, but Muchan quickly stops him. At the same time, Jiang receives news that Minsu's electricity consumption has increased dramatically. If Minsu is also really Gaital, it's absurd. Suddenly, Gaital goes on air to announce the next person to be voted to death. It seems that Jihoon is also involved in this vote. This time, the name that shocked everyone was Muchan. He accused Muchan of forcing the victim to confess and creating false evidence that caused others to be wrongfully imprisoned. Hearing this, Mr. Choi immediately called someone to protect Muchan. At this time, a man appeared on the screen. He accused Muchan of fabricating false evidence, which caused him to be wrongfully imprisoned for 10 years. Gaital calls Muchan an innocent evil and announces an immediate vote. On the other side, the female doctor is preparing to give medicine to Chan Hun as planned. Just then, Jihoon appeared and asked to stop because No. 5 had betrayed the group. She had to throw away the medicine and could not act as planned. At the same time, Jihoon broke into the central control room and disabled the entire server. The videos defaming Muchan were disconnected and the voting was also paused. Due to public pressure, Muchan was temporarily given leave to let things calm down. Jihoon went to visit Muchan and found the room full of documents about cases, especially the case of Soju's daughter and the death penalty ballot. She blamed him for not using the computer in the office, making everything messy and unsystematic. Muchan wanted to review Minsu's testimony and told Jihoon to follow Soju closely when he was transferred to a prison. If Muchan wanted to arrest Minsu, he had to prove that Minsu was Gaital. Muchan asked Jihoon to check the letters Soju had sent to Minsu before. Jihoon realizes that every time Minsu transfers money from abroad, a letter is sent to Soju. Jihoon suspects that Minsu hired someone to send a letter to Soju. She is curious about how the case 8 years ago is related to this case. Muchan believes that the two are controlled by the same murderer. Jihoon doesn't think so because the case 8 years ago was murder, and this case is a death penalty vote in pursuit of justice. Jihoon still feels it's wrong that Muchan thinks Minsu is Gaital. When Jihoon returns, she discovers that the letters between Minsu and Soju are shady. On this side, Muchan pieces together the details and realizes who Gaital really is. Jihoon brings the letter to question Soju. Jihoon wonders why the first letter Minsu sent 5 years ago disappeared. Just then, Muchan calls Jihoon to tell her that Soju is Gaital, which surprises her. There's a noise outside, and Soju suddenly hugs Jihoon to shield her. A truck rushed towards them, but luckily both of them were not injured. That car was the vehicle that helped Soju escape from prison successfully. Jihoon could only watch helplessly as Soju left before her eyes. Immediately after that, Jihoon called Muchan and the police team to inform them of the situation. Muchan used the GPS signal to track the moving car carrying Soju. Jihoon also followed closely behind, but the two were stuck in a congested tunnel. Car carrying Soju was now blocking the road and disappeared. 2 motorbikes suddenly rushed out of the truck and quickly escaped. Muchan pulled out a gun and fired, but could not stop Soju from escaping. When they arrived at the police station, the chief was angry and blamed Jihoon for letting Soju escape. Muchan tried to defend Jihoon. This made him even angrier. The two had a conflict. The chief doesn't want to see Muchan anymore. The police keep Soju's escape a secret and don't tell the press. At this time, Soju and the female prison doctor returned to the old secret base. All the equipment here was destroyed by number 5, and the server was also locked. Another member of the group arrives, so the two immediately put on masks to hide their identities. The newcomer is angry when he knows that number 5 betrayed and stole the data. Soju says that the group needs to change the whole plan because the situation has changed. Soju then tries to restore the data, but everything seems to have been erased. At the same time, Muchan goes to Soju's house to check if he's back. Juhyun unexpectedly appears. The two of them search for more clues. Juhyun doesn't believe that Minsu is Gaetal, so she still wants to search his house again, but the police don't have a valid reason, so they can't get a search warrant. Muchan shows Nare a photo of the boy Soju wanted to adopt. Soju says they lost contact, but Muchan still wants to try to find out. Neither of them know that the boy is Jihoon. Jihoon meets Ju Min again, and the two seem to be closer than friends. However, Jihoon always hides his identity and doesn't even reveal where he lives. On the way back, Jihoon unexpectedly meets an acquaintance and asks to leave first. That person is Soju, his adoptive father. The two then hug each other. In the detention center, all the technological work is secretly handled by Jihoon. Jihoon feels guilty because he couldn't stop No 5 from sabotaging the plan, but Soju thinks that no one is at fault, they just chose the wrong person. Then the three of them go back to the house of female Dr. Haejin in the detention center to hide, because the police are looking for Soju. On the other side, No 5 is meeting Minsu. He felt like he was the only one who didn't know anyone in the group. Even number 5 couldn't know who was really the number 1 fan. Number 5 promised that if Minsu paid and helped him get revenge, he would provide information. At that moment, Minsu received news that Soju had escaped from prison. This made him happy. The next morning, Jihoon sneaked into Minsu's room and stole data from the computer. When Minsu returned, Jihoon had finished and left safely. Minsu didn't suspect. Jihoon, on the other side, Juhyun went to the prison where Soju had lived for many years. She was surprised to see that he was being treated as if he was on vacation. Almost everyone in the prison was Soju's contact person. Juhyun paid special attention to the female doctor, Haejin. Soju often met her during regular checkups. Unfortunately, Haejin wasn't there today. Muchan went to the orphanage to find the whereabouts of the boy in the old photo. The person in charge clearly remembered that Soju had planned to adopt the child. After Soju's daughter died, the adoption plan was no longer continued. Sometime later, the child was adopted by another good family. When she went outside, Juhyun informed Muchan that she had searched Soju's room but found nothing. Juhyun wondered why Soju could still direct the vote while in prison. Muchan thought that Soju might have asked people close to her in prison. Juhyun suddenly remembered that the doctor who treated her had once had a nephew who was arrested by Captain Ohi. Juhyun felt that the female doctor had too many suspicious coincidences. That same night, Muchan went to Haejin's house to ask for more information. As soon as Muchan entered, she saw a figure passing by on the stairs. Muchan asked Haejin about the emphysema that Soju had suffered from. She replied that if the disease had not relapsed, he would not have come to the hospital. Soju was also very secretive, so Haejin didn't know anything more. In fact, Soju was hiding upstairs in Haejin's house at the moment. Muchan couldn't get any more information, so he asked to leave. On the way out, Muchan discovered 3 umbrellas in front of the house. This made Muchan even more suspicious. The next morning, Juhyun and Jordan disguised themselves to hunt down their number 1 fan. In the group chat, someone calling themselves Gaetal made an appointment to meet at the city park. Juhyun saw a suspicious girl, so Ench immediately held her back to check her phone. She was Juhyun's younger sister's classmate. The girl insisted that she wasn't Gaetal, but that she was just following the piece of paper she received. The content of the paper was just to make an appointment on a day with nice weather. She was just following what paper said. From afar, Jihoon was filming the whole scene and then left quickly. Returning to the office, Juhyun checked the mysterious piece of paper again. She really didn't understand because the weather app said that every day this week would be sunny. Juhyun asks Jordan to check Jinwook's phone for a weather app. Not only that, but there are 2 suspicious weather apps pre-installed inside. Juhyun is surprised to discover this and immediately reports it to the entire investigation team. A private TV station is reporting on the nationwide death penalty vote. June goes to the TV station with the hope of exposing the truth about Gaetal. She wants her warning to be broadcast to all citizens. Everyone everyone has a hidden weather app on their phone. That app is the software Gaital uses to hack into their personal devices. Muchan advises everyone to delete the app because their phones are being hacked severely. He is using the people to legitimize his murder in the name of justice. Minsu goes crazy when he hears this news and vows to kill Muchan at all costs. Jiang calmed Minsu down and said that it was not over yet. She promised to help him fulfill his wishes to the end. For Minsu, killing and committing crimes brought absolute satisfaction. That night, Gaital appeared again and appeared on television in front of millions of people. He said that he felt that the people's trust was gradually declining, but justice still needed to be properly carried out by collective voting. This time, the target was Chun-sik, a real estate swindler who had ruined many families. Immediately, the death penalty vote was held publicly as usual. At the same time, Chun-sik was captured by a group of men wearing dog masks. The leader was the man who had betrayed Gaital and was nicknamed Number 5. He was the one who set up this vote. When the number of people in favor reached 53%, the man nicknamed Number 5 stabbed Chun-sik to death on the spot. The next morning, the police arrived at the scene and discovered traces of the murder. However, the voter turnout did not decrease as expected because there were still many people who had not deleted the fake weather app. Murder is now like a group game. Mr. Choi decided to investigate Chun-sik's relatives. Meanwhile, Juhan and Jordan pretended to be network technicians to investigate. They suspected that Minsu's house was emitting strange IP addresses and unusual power consumption. After distracting the maid, Juhan broke into Minsu's room. The room was initially not suspicious, only a Wi-Fi network full of strange devices. She opened a cup in the cabinet when suddenly a secret door appeared. It was the entrance to the room containing the giant computer system. Juhyun immediately tried to break in, but the Gaital symbol immediately appeared. At that moment, the secret door behind her suddenly closed automatically. Juhyun opened the video on the computer and was stunned to see Na-rae asking for help, and she kept calling her father's name. In front of Na-rae was Minsu. Minsu ordered Woo-taek to film that haunting moment. Juhyun immediately sent the recording to Muchan. Muchan also couldn't hide his emotions when he heard Na-rae's voice. Muchan called Juhyun back and told her to film the secret room for him to see. Juhyun believed that this evidence could accuse Minsu of killing Na-rae. At that moment, Minsu returned home and received a call from his mother telling him to run away. Jiang knew that the police had evidence to accuse Minsu of killing Na-rae. Minsu didn't say anything and drove away from home. The person who informed Jiang was the bribed Captain Choi. She wondered why Suk-ju wanted to mess things up when his goal was to target her son. Mr. Choi thought that Suk-ju might want to take revenge on Jiang's family because she was the one who made Suk-ju desperate. Mr. Choi was sure that the next person to be executed would be Minsu. Mr. Choi advised her to take Minsu to confess to save her life. Not long after, Minsu went to the police station and admitted that he killed Na-rae. Minsu also brought the recording and smiled provocatively without fear. On the other side, Juhyun was trying to back up the data from the computer but encountered a problem. The system was automatically reformatting, causing all data to be erased. Juhyun tried to restore it but could not retrieve the important original file. Without the original file, there was not enough basis to convict Minsu in court. At this time, Muchan and everyone followed the video to find the suspicious abandoned house. This was most likely where Minsu killed Na-rae for the first time. Mr. Choi was also present and said that clear evidence was needed to convict. The video recorded from Minsu's house was illegal, so it could not be brought to trial. The recording Minsu brought was not clear enough to confirm that he was the real culprit. Muchan wondered why Minsu confessed at that sensitive time. Muchan did not know that Mr. Choi was actually Ji-young's man. At the same time, Ji-hoon reported that Minsu confessed, making Suk-ju feel like he had lost his soul. Suk-ju's plan to take revenge on Minsu that he had planned for many years was gradually falling apart. After a period of investigation, the police concluded that Suk-ju was the mastermind. He had secretly planned the death penalty ballot 5 years ago. The first person to help Suk-ju was Jin-woo. He was the leader of the group that carried out the sentence for the victims who were voted for the death penalty. The second person was Dong-gyu. He was the driver who kidnapped Ji-chun many years ago. Dong-gyu worked as a driver for a long time to observe the voted target. Trouble began when Muchan also became a target for the death penalty vote. The source of the broadcast that day was found on Minsu's personal computer. No one understands why Minsu and Suk-ju have the same ideals. Mr. Choi suspects that Ji-chun and Eun-kyung were poisoned before being killed. It seems that someone who understands medicine helped Suk-ju in this. Muchan immediately thinks of Dr. Hae-jin, so he requests a thorough investigation. There is also a mysterious person who specializes in programming and distributing voting applications. He is a computer genius that the police have yet to find. Unexpectedly, that person is Ji-hoon. That night, Soju deliberately approaches the female MC of the TV station. When she sees him, she tries to run away, but the door is locked. Soju reveals that he is gay tall. He wants her to broadcast live. He promises to help the program achieve high viewership ratings. The offer is something she cannot refuse even though she knows the consequences. Not long after, Soju officially appears at the TV studio. His appearance made the whole audience silent and shocked. Soju apologized for hacking the phone and installing the death penalty voting app, but he insisted that he did not sell personal data to anyone. Soju announced that the next round of voting would begin in a week. The target was a high school teacher with a penchant for serial killing. He had escaped punishment because he was the son of a powerful congressman. Joo-hyun immediately went to Minsu and gave him an emergency communication device. Joo-hyun knew that Minsu would be the next target that Gadol wanted to deal with. He could be killed at any time without the police being able to stop him. Meanwhile, Muchan reviewed the file on the suspicious Dr. Hae-jin. What was special was that she had adopted Ji-hoon many years ago. Coincidentally, Soju had also wanted to adopt Ji-hoon back then. The strange relationship between the three made Muchan even more suspicious. The pink umbrella at Hae-jin's house had appeared in the past of the case. It was the umbrella that Ji-hoon left behind when he witnessed Woo-tae being killed. Muchan rearranged everything and was sure that Ji-hoon was the person the police were looking for. The time to open the death penalty notice at 10 o'clock coincided with Ji-hoon's school dismissal time. Ji-hoon almost became Soju's adopted son. It was Ji-hoon who was behind the scenes helping Soju carry out the entire plan. Joo-hyun was extremely shocked when she heard Muchan reveal this secret. The police were still strictly on duty at Minsu's hospital room. At that time, someone brought him heart medication as usual. After drinking it, Minsu felt uncomfortable and discovered the Gadol symbol under the cup. Before he could react, he collapsed to the floor, causing the police to panic. Minsu was immediately taken to a nearby hospital for emergency treatment. A moment later, a man disguised as a doctor entered the hospital room. He quickly knocked out police officer guarding Minsu. This guy injected a drug into Minsu, causing him to pass out immediately. Minsu then completely disappeared from the hospital in the chaos. Jiang rushed to the hospital and found that Minsu was no longer there. She panicked when she saw the police officer collapsed on the floor. Meanwhile, Minsu was taken to a dark room. Opposite him was Soju and the masked man. Soju informed Minsu that he was the subject of the death penalty vote this time. Minsu's heart had been injected with nicotine. Just give him an order and his heart would stop beating. However, Soju still wanted to give Minsu a chance if he repented. Soju suggested that Minsu confess all his sins to the people of the country. Maybe that could change the outcome of this vote. But Minsu did not show any remorse for the crimes he had committed. Soju wanted to know why Minsu killed Na-rae. Minsu said it was all just to get Soju's attention. Minsu used to admire Soju a lot, but Soju never paid attention to him. Hearing that, Soju went crazy when he knew that his daughter died for such a ridiculous reason. The death penalty voting program was immediately broadcast live on television. Minsu's true identity and all his crimes were clearly announced. The voting time was 1 hour. The people of the whole country were free to decide. The more votes in favor, the faster Minsu's heart rate would increase. Minsu was not afraid at all, but instead seemed to enjoy it and challenge the people. Minsu said provocative words that made no one hesitate to vote for the death penalty. When the number of votes reached 50%, Minsu began to writhe in pain. The police quickly located and entered the building where Minsu was being held. Through the camera, Soju knew they were coming, but he still stayed until the voting ended. After an hour, the approval vote reached 87%. This meant that Minsu was officially sentenced to death. Seeing this, Soju immediately ran to strangle Minsu to kill him, but at that moment, Muchan rushed in to stop Soju. Muchan immediately performed first aid to save Minsu's life. Soju could only beg Muchan to stop, but he was still unable to stop Muchan. Soju and his accomplices were taken to the police station. Only Ji-hoon quickly escaped. On the way, Jiang called Mr. Choi to ask for Minsu's location. Although Minsu was in the lead car, Mr. Choi lied that he was in the back car. Just a few minutes later, Jiang's men drove a truck straight into the car, carrying Minsu in the lead. Jiang had no idea that her son was in the car with Mr. Choi. The car was thrown to the side of the road. The gas tank was leaking, increasing the risk of fire and explosion. Muchan's car also spun around and crashed into the opposite curb. Muchan immediately ran to save people from the car before the fire broke out. Muchan pulled Mr. Choi out, but the fire started to spread fiercely. Soju went to check and saw that Minsu was still alive. Muchan recounted the scene of him strangling Na-rae and stabbing her 13 times in a row. Those horrifying words made Soju Seokju, unable to contain his anger. Seokju was about to kill Minsu, but Muchan stopped him in time. Muchan advised Seokju to stop because this scene was exactly like the murder of Wu Taek years ago. At that moment, Minsu's accomplice stabbed Muchan in the back, causing him to collapse. Meanwhile, Seokju rushed in and stabbed Minsu with a piece of broken glass. Despite being stabbed, Minsu still had a familiar smile. The car also exploded shortly after. Seokju and his accomplice quickly left the chaotic scene. Muchan pulled out a gun to stop them, but he couldn't stop them from escaping. Jiang arrived at the scene and couldn't believe that her son had died that way. The painful thing was that Jiang had indirectly killed her own son. Mr. Choi was lucky to survive, but is still in critical condition. The police arrested the truck driver, but he said he fell asleep and caused the accident. However, Muchan suspected that someone hired the driver to kill Minsu from the beginning. Muchan didn't understand how the killer knew that Minsu was alive and was being escorted there. Muchan and Juhyun checked Mr. Choi's phone call from last night in the car. They found out that he had talked to Jiyoung right before the accident. She was the one who asked for Minsu's location. That proved that Jiyoung was involved in the incident. Unfortunately, Mr. Choi lied. Immediately after that, Muchan went to Jiyoung's house to talk directly. Muchan confirmed that Jiyoung was the one behind the entire murder of Minsu. However, due to insufficient evidence, Muchan cannot arrest Jiyoung. Muchan warns Jiyoung not to touch Mr. Choi from now on, or she will pay the price. Even if it costs her life, Jiyoung will protect Mr. Choi to the end. On the other side, Seokju meets Jihoon at a beach. Seokju apologizes for dragging Jihoon into this. Seokju wants Jihoon to leave and go to a place where no one can find him. Seokju will confess and take responsibility for everything. Seokju tells Jihoon to forget him and start a new life. Seokju will negotiate with Muchan to remove the arrest warrant for Jihoon. Before leaving, Jihoon apologizes for being late and not being able to pick up Nare. Seokju hugs Jihoon and affirms that he has never blamed Jihoon for anything. To Seokju, Jihoon is no different from his own son. Soon after, Seokju organized a vote to execute himself for murder. Jihoon immediately contacted Chu Min to find a way to stop Seokju, but Jihoon could not do anything because this was Seokju's final decision. He wanted to sacrifice himself to avoid further bloodshed. Seokju knew that Jiyoung would not easily let the others go. The police found the location where Seokju was filming to broadcast the vote. Muchan suspected that there was a bomb inside, so he could not rush in to save. At this time, Jihoon also went on air and admitted that he was gay. Jihoon called on the people to cancel the death penalty vote this time. To make people believe, Jihoon even revealed his face. Jihoon told everything from the time Seokju planned to adopt him until the day Nare was killed and the series of cases that followed. While broadcasting live, Jihoon tried to escape police. Jihoon said his family was destroyed by Minsu and Wu Tae. The person who covered up all their crimes was Congressman Jiyoung. That's why Seokju did these things. A straightforward person like Seokju doesn't deserve to be condemned by the whole country. Fortunately, the vote was cancelled after Jihoon's appeal. Before Seokju could be happy, he was kidnapped by Jiyoung's men. They dragged Jihoon and Ju Min to an abandoned house and beat them. Juhyun arrived in time, but she couldn't stop them from attacking Jihoon. Jihoon was hit on the head with a stick and collapsed on the spot in front of everyone. In a moment of weakness, Jihoon only had time to hand Juhyun a USB. Jihoon passed out and never woke up again. On the other side, Seokju was preparing to end his life. He no longer cared about the vote results because he knew that all the wrongdoings he did would have to be paid for by the law. Muchan found out, so he rushed in and saved Seokju in time. Thanks to timely first aid, Seokju's life was saved in a critical condition. But soon after, Muchan received news that Jihoon had just passed away. At the same time, Seokju's accomplice, Chu Min, had also escaped. When Juhyun arrived, she ran to blame Seokju for Jihoon's death. Even though he knew it was very dangerous, Jihoon still revealed his identity to save Seokju. Hearing this, Seokju collapsed. The sky seemed to collapse before his eyes. Seokju could not believe that the only person by his side was no longer in this world. On the way back to the police station, Seokju asked Muchan to stop by the beach for a moment before leaving. This was a place that held many beautiful memories between Seokju and her daughter. Muchan could not refuse Seokju's last sad request. Seokju had accepted his daughter's death, but not Jihoon. Seokju blamed himself for causing the biggest tragedy in Jihoon's life. Muchan also admitted that if he had arrested Minsu earlier, things wouldn't have turned out like this. At that moment, Chu Min appeared with Juhyun. He took her hostage and forced Muchan to release Seokju from the police. Seokju knew that Chu Min didn't come here to rescue him, but what Chu Min really wanted was the secret death penalty voting application. Seokju took out the USB and promised to hand it over if Juhyun left safely. Taking advantage of the gap, Ju. Hyun knocked the gun out of Chu Min's hand. Chu Min rushed to grab the USB from Soju. Muchan immediately fired to stop Chu Min. The shot caused two people to fall into the deep sea. Muchan immediately jumped in to save them, but he couldn't find anyone in the water. The police launched a search, but still couldn't find the bodies of the two missing people. After many days of hopeless searching, the police declared Soju and his accomplice dead. The female doctor Accomplice was arrested, and Ji-hoon was blamed for being killed by Soju's men. The police did not investigate further, even though the real murderer was Jiang. That night, Muchan reviewed the video of Minsu taking the time to kill Na-rae. Muchan discovered that the pillar in the video was smaller than the actual pillar in the house. Muchan ordered the floor to be broken to check the structure of the pillar inside the room. Upon hearing the news, Jiang immediately went to the scene to try to stop Muchan's actions. But at this time, Muchan broke the pillar in the middle of the house and discovered a smaller pillar. Inside the old pillar, there were many blood stains that were identified as Na-rae's blood. Jiang had people build a pillar around the outside to cover up her son's murder. Thanks to this evidence, she was accused of assisting in destroying the crime scene. At the same time, Captain Choi woke up and agreed to testify in court. He said that Jiang had bribed the police. She had no way to deny it and was taken to the police station. After everything ended, Joo-hyun threw away the death penalty voting app. What Ji-hoon had given her was no longer valuable to anyone. No one wanted to continue the path that Soju left behind. A year passed, and Joo-min still remembered Ji-hoon as if he were still alive. On his birthday, she still sent him special wishes. Joo-min talked about her current life and future plans. Even though she knew Ji-hoon couldn't respond, she still kept him alive in her heart. Ji-young was later released thanks to her money and connections. She worked hard to do charity work as if to make up for her past mistakes, but in fact, she was hiding her next plot after her fake actions. Ji-young got into the car of a young hacker she had just secretly recruited. Ji-young is currently in control of the death penalty voting app. It seems that she will continue to create a world of justice in her own way. One day, Muchan unexpectedly receives a package containing a USB bearing the Getal logo. He is shocked when he sees it because he does not know who sent it to him. After a long time, Muchan meets Joo-hyun again and asks about the petition. It is the petition that Soju sent to ask for clemency for Ji-hoon before he passed away. However, Joo-hyun knows nothing about the petition. She also doubts whether Soju is really dead or still alive. Muchan also wonders about this after receiving the strange USB. Like Muchan, Joo-hyun also has a secret that he has never revealed to anyone. Before he died, Soju sent Joo-hyun a final handwritten letter. In the letter, Soju only defended Ji-hoon. After that, Soju took all responsibility and affirmed that Ji-hoon was completely innocent. Although everything Soju did was against common sense, if he could do it again, he would still punish the bad guys instead of the law. Soju's death is not the end, but the transfer of fate. There will always be someone who will inherit path of justice that he once chose. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.